The fire continued burning for hours. Over the succeeding days, more than 15,000 people sought medical treatment at nearby hospitals for breathing problems and other symptoms.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak as a part of this panel. USW Local 5 would like to thank the CSB for coming out and doing the investigation. While here, the investigation team has been great, and the interim report is a sign of how hard they have worked and how deep they have dug into this incident. We look forward to the final report as well as the recommendations to follow. We as workers rely on that depth to find all root causes, which identified and corrected lead to a safer workplace and community that surrounds it. We support the recommendations presented this evening. We believe that there are city, county, and state laws that are in place that can be enforced as well as strengthened to prevent these types of incidents from happening. The current environment, one which relies too heavily on the industry, or API, making its own rules and then failing to follow those rules is not working. Strengthening the oversight on the refining sector is a must. This is not just a Chevron Richmond issue. Local 5 also represents workers at the Shell and Espinoza refineries here in the Bay Area. We want to stress that this is an industry-wide problem. These management system failures are present at all refineries. We also support and appreciate the local legislators such as Assemblymember Skinner, Congressman Miller, Senators Hancock and DeSaulnier in their quest to improve refinery safety. We are hoping that these recommendations are taken seriously by all parties and that we can learn from this incident. We look forward to working with industry, legislators, and the community to get to a better place. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Espinoza. He is the Subdirector of District 1 of the United Steelworkers International Union. Mr. Espinoza.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. I've worked in this industry for over 25 years and went to work for the International Union. Through those years and every year, we hear of deaths from employees, explosions, injuries that continue to happen in an industry that prides themselves on safety. I want to talk for a second about API 754, leading and lagging indicators. We do not think that it is, as it is currently, is adequate. It needs worker and regulator participation and community participation with the industry in identifying these indicators. What I would like to say, and I'm listening to everyone in this panel, and I certainly don't feel quite as capable as they are, but I want to talk about the fact that we call on Chevron to lead in setting a premier standard for environmental and safety excellence. Yeah. And in the refinery manufacturing that they do. For too long, that has not occurred. And we want them to put an end to the lagging that has happened in the past.
My name is Kim Libarger. I'm a health and safety specialist for United Steelworkers, and I will abbreviate my comments in light of the time. First, we don't view this as a Chevron problem. It's an industry problem. Second, the broken widget, the sulfidation corrosion of the pipe, is a long-known problem in the refining industry, as you pointed out in your report. The problems allowing this event to happen seem to be underlying in nearly every refinery in the country. We need to identify not just the cause, but what allowed these events to happen. If we recall the report that the Chemical Safety Board did on the Texas City BP refinery, we will find numerous of those events also took place in this accident. It appears from your report that a number of people tried to alert Chevron to the fact that this pipe needed to fall under increased scrutiny or have the metallurgy upgraded. Although a management of change process was completed for the initial crudes containing higher sulfur content, it does not appear that a question of concern about increased corrosion over time from the use of a higher sulfur crude was raised or addressed. More recommendations were made from 100% component inspection to replacing the line, all rejected by Chevron management. This is the same as operators raising the issue of shutting the unit down when the leak was first discovered and being overruled by Chevron management. We often hear of and speak about safety culture, but as you can see from these examples, it does no good to have the authority without the power. A safety culture works when there is a harmonious environment. It does not work where one entity holds the power over the other participants. Currently, the process safety management standard governing oil refineries says that its purpose is to prevent or minimize the consequences of catastrophic releases of toxic, reactive, flammable, or explosive chemicals. Really, all it requires you to do is develop a written plan on how you will meet the element challenges in the standard. There is nothing requiring you to do it well, or to really define what you intend to accomplish. So meeting the requirement of the standard, having a written plan and following it may serve no benefit other than to avoid penalties. If you are following your plan, even though it is a poor plan, you have done nothing wrong, or at least citable in the eyes of the regulators. Unless the regulator is well versed in process safety, they may not recognize how poor the plan is or what reg-gap for a particular operation or equipment may be. Even if they do, it's not a violation of the standard. It's not enforceable to require an employer to develop and follow an effective plan. It would really make the standard more productive if employers were required to comply with a level based on described, recognized, and generally accepted good engineering practices, reg-gap, to assure that operating risks were as low as reasonably practical, ALAR, and we've heard a lot of talk about that tonight. And hazards are identified and eliminated or mitigated. When the practice improves, the plan improves to meet the current practice. But it must be mandatory, it must be regulated, it cannot be undefined in any way, or it will not get done. It also needs to be transparent with employee involvement, regulated, enforced participation, not the consult language that's in the standard now. The Norwegian Petroleum Safety Authority, the PSA, has a safety case in place, and they have had it in place since the mid-1970s. This tripartite model of industry, regulator, and union share authority in making decisions that govern the safety of the offshore oil industry. They also require that risk must be managed to ALAR. It's time for us to stop trying to tweak a standard that is not working as it was intended or at least hoped. It's time for a system overhaul, and that will require regulator, labor, and industry working together. It will require involving the communities around these facilities. It will require a true commitment to make the industry safer, not just different. You have the ability to fund this through the language in the California Labor Code 7870. You just need to have the legislature approve the expenditures from the fees that will be put into place or can be put into place from this practice. We encourage and welcome the opportunity to work toward that change, and we also look forward to the final version of the report, including the follow-up elements highlighted at the end of this report. Thank you.
Our investigators found over a 10-year period, Chevron technical experts and workers made at least 6 recommendations to increase inspection or replace the piping that eventually leaked. I would like to know what was going on in Chevron's management. What flawed decision-making matrices did they use? What financial incentives did they have that allowed them to dismiss the repeated warnings of their employees and gamble with the safety of their workforce and the public? I realize the subject of corporate decision-making is on the agenda for the final report, and and will not be discussed tonight. But I take this incident at Chevron as a cautionary tale about what happens when senior management ignores the concerns and advice of workers. This problem is not unique to Chevron. In my 30 years as an occupational health professional, I have found it to be rampant across many sectors. Whether your workplace is a refinery or a bakery, management ignoring the advice of workers is a serious mistake. Not only is it bad for management because good information is not put to good use, but as we see here, it is dangerous and can have terrible and completely avoidable consequences. Why so many organizations persist in this harmful, ultimately self-destructive behavior is important to figure out, both for the health of the organization or the business, and mainly for public health. Thank you.